I was reading a book alone in my room when, without warning, my straight best friend Jason walked in. What happened next? I still haven't fully processed. It was 2 weeks ago, late afternoon, the kind of quiet that settles over a house when the outside world takes a breath. No cars, no voices, just the hum of the ceiling fan and the soft sound of pages turning. Golden sunlight slipped through sheer curtains, casting faint shadows across the messy bedspread. I was curled in my usual corner, a pillow at my back, legs tucked under the blanket, halfway through a novel I'd never admit to loving. One of those aching love stories filled with tension and unsaid things. Stories like that let me feel without consequence. Feelings too complicated to voice. Fantasies too dangerous to hope for. I flipped another page. The main character had just confessed something to his best friend. Something I knew I never could. Not to him. Jason. My chest tightened, just thinking his name. My best friend since high school. The guy I now shared this cramped apartment with. Jason, who had no idea what he meant to me. Jason, who gave me no reason to believe he ever would. He was straight. Undeniably, frustratingly straight. Athletic. Popular. Always swiping on dating apps. Floating from fling to fling. And yet, he was also the guy who brought me takeout when I forgot to eat. Who made stupid jokes during finals just to get me to smile. Who sat a little too close sometimes without realizing what that did to me. I was mid-sentence when I heard the familiar jingle of keys at the front door. My pulse stuttered. Then came the soft thud of it closing. His voice, casual. "Yo, you home?" I froze. My eyes locked on the word confession in the middle of the page. I didn't answer. Maybe he'd think I was asleep. "Hello?" He called again, louder this time. Footsteps padded down the hall. Uneven, like he'd kicked off his shoes. "I know you're here. Your book's on the counter." I smiled despite myself. Jason noticed everything. A second later, my bedroom door creaked open without a knock. Classic him. He leaned against the doorway, wearing joggers and a white tank that clung a little too well. His hair was messy in that effortless way that made me want to look away and stare at the same time. "You really need to learn how to lock your door," he said, stepping inside like it was his space too. I glanced up, smirking. "Ever consider knocking?" He flopped down onto my bed, the mattress dipping under his weight. His thigh brushed mine and I fought the instinct to pull away. Not because I didn't want the contact, but because I did. Jason yawned. "Nah. I like keeping you on your toes. You're going to give me a heart attack someday." "I already do. Admit it." His voice was light, teasing, but there was something in his eyes, something unspoken. I tried to return to my book. Maybe he'd get bored and leave, but he didn't. Instead, he leaned in closer, peeking over my shoulder. "What's this one about? Another tragic romance?" I tilted the book away. "None of your business." "Ooh, secret shame. That means it's good." "Jason." Before I could stop him, he plucked the book from my hands, turning it to read the cover. "Summer by the Lake," he read aloud. "Sounds steamy." "It's not," I said, reaching for it. He laughed, letting me take it back. But when our hands touched, something in my chest sparked. It wasn't new. It happened every time. But this time, I didn't recover as fast. My hand lingered, just a second too long. I pulled back, embarrassed. Jason noticed. He didn't say anything, just watched me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, eyes on the book. He laid back, arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling. "You're always in here reading. Don't you ever get tired of being alone?" "I'm not alone," I said quietly. He turned his head toward me. "Yeah, but I mean alone. I didn't answer. I didn't know how. What was I supposed to say? That solitude was easier than honesty? "Books don't judge," I said finally. He gave a small smile. "No, but they don't touch you either." My heart skipped. He hadn't meant it as anything more. Or had he? "You're weird," I muttered. He rolled onto his side, facing me. "So are you. That's why we're friends." His arm brushed mine as he shifted. I tensed, every nerve in my body on alert. He was too close. Too real. Then, so softly I almost missed it, he asked, "Do you ever think about things being different?" I turned. His gaze was locked on mine, serious. "Different how?" I asked. He shrugged, but it felt like effort. "I don't know. Just not like this." I felt like I was holding my breath. There was something between us. Always had been. But we'd never dared to name it. I opened my mouth to speak, but Jason sat up suddenly, rubbing the back of his neck.
"I'm starving."
"Got any snacks?" Just like that, the moment passed. Or maybe he let it. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. About that look. About that question. He left the room, rummaging in the kitchen. I stayed frozen, the book limp in my lap, the words long since blurred. I traced the frayed edge of the cover. But my mind was stuck on what he'd said. "Do you ever think about things being different?" He could have meant anything. But it didn't feel like nothing. When he returned, it was with chips and soda. He nudged the door open with his shoulder. Stepping in like this was his room, too. In many ways, it was. Jason had never respected personal boundaries. Not out of rudeness, just because he didn't really see them. He hugged too long. Borrowed things without asking. Sat too close. And I had spent years pretending not to care. "Here," he said, tossing me a soda. I caught it just in time. The bottle cold in my hand. "Thanks," I murmured. He twisted open his drink and reclined beside me, his shoulder brushing mine again. He didn't move away. "So," he said between bites of chips, "what were you reading that had you looking like you were about to cry?" I blinked. "Cry?" He smirked. "Or punch someone. Maybe both." I looked down at the book. It was a sad part. He nodded. No teasing. Just quiet understanding. "What happens?" he asked. I hesitated. "It's about two people who love each other, but can't say it." "Why not?" Jason exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Everything," he said softly. "You, me, the way I felt around you lately. It's like I want something, but I'm afraid wanting it will break everything." His voice cracked just a little, but it was enough. I told myself for years that this, whatever it was, couldn't be more, that it was just in my head. But now, sitting so close, with him looking at me like he was waiting for permission, I didn't know how to keep pretending. "What do you want?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He blinked. "What?" "You said it feels like you want something. So, what do you want?" He looked down at his hands. Slowly, he reached out, fingers brushing mine, hesitant, unsure. He didn't look at me, and I didn't pull away. "I don't know what this means," he said quietly, "but I don't want to stop it." My heart was thundering. I stared at our hands, not quite holding, not quite separate. "I don't want to stop either," I said, the words escaping before fear could. He looked up, and I saw it. All of it. Fear, relief, and hope so raw it hurt to witness. He moved closer, inch by inch. "Can I try something?" he asked, voice barely audible. I nodded. He leaned in, slowly, cautiously, giving me every chance to say no. But I didn't. When his lips brushed mine, it wasn't really a kiss. It was a question, a breath, a maybe, a beginning. My body reacted like it had been waiting for this touch my entire life. My eyes fluttered shut, and I leaned in just enough to tell him this wasn't a mistake. Jason deepened the kiss, still gentle, still unsure. His hand moved from mine to the side of my neck, his thumb resting just below my jaw, grounding me. I felt his breath, his hesitation, the way he trembled as much as I did. This wasn't a kiss driven by lust. It was careful, curious, like two people learning a language they already knew by heart. When we finally pulled apart, we didn't speak. Our foreheads rested together, breathing the same air, hearts pounding in a shared, uncertain rhythm. "I'm scared," Jason whispered, eyes still closed. "Me too," I breathed. "But I think that's okay." He nodded slowly, his hands still on my neck. "I don't know what happens next. We don't have to figure it all out tonight," I said. "Just stay here." Jason exhaled, a shaky breath that seemed to release years of tension. He pulled back enough to look at me with something close to awe. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he said. "Then don't." We didn't kiss again that night. We didn't need to. We just lay side by side, not touching, not speaking much, just existing in the same space, breathing the same air. The book I'd been reading was forgotten. That story didn't matter anymore, because a new one, mine, had just begun. The room dimmed to a golden haze from the streetlights. Jason's breathing was steady beside me, but I could tell from the occasional shift of his fingers against the comforter that he wasn't asleep. Neither was I. Sleep felt like something that belonged to a different version of us. Before, I kept my eyes closed, not pretending, just not sure what to say. There was a fullness in my chest, a weightless pressure. I didn't know if it was joy, fear, or both. I was afraid to move, afraid the spell would break. Still awake. Jason's voice was soft but clear, and it jolted something in me. "Yeah," I murmured. "Couldn't sleep." He rolled onto his side. I felt the mattress shift. The air thickened. Then, without warning, his hand touched my arm, fingers just barely resting there. It should have meant nothing, but to me it felt seismic. "I've been thinking," he said, his breath brushing my cheek, "about how long this has been in the air between us." I turned to face him. His eyes searched mine, open in a way I'd never seen. "You mean tonight?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, way before. You ever look back and realize a moment meant more than you knew?" I nodded. "All the time. Like that night we stayed up watching horror movies, and I fell asleep on your shoulder. I didn't move. I didn't want to. I just sat there and felt everything. That night had haunted me. I thought I was the only one who remembered." "You remember that?" "Of course. That was the first time I realized I was looking at you differently. And I didn't know what to do with that." "Why didn't you say anything?" Jason smiled faintly. "Because I was scared. I played the role so well, girls, parties, all of it. I started believing it myself. Until you." My heart pounded. "You were always just there," he continued. "Reading, rolling your eyes at my jokes, making me feel safe. And that scared the hell out of me." I reached for his hand. This time our fingers laced together, firm and certain. "You don't have to be scared," I said. "I know," he whispered, "but I still am. Not because I don't want this. God, I want this. I just don't know how to be this. I don't know what it means for me." "It doesn't have to mean anything right now," I said. "You just need to be honest. With yourself. With me." He let out a breath and moved closer. His leg pressed against mine. His whole body leaned into me like a question. "Can I kiss you again?" he asked. I didn't answer. I leaned in. This time there was no hesitation. His lips met mine with more certainty. It wasn't a whisper. It was a declaration. His hand cupped my cheek. Our mouths moved slowly, then deeper. Everything we had hidden for years came pouring out. The tension, the touches that weren't accidents, the closeness we always denied. His kiss grew hungrier. My fingers tangled in his hair. A quiet groan escaped him as his hand slid to my waist, pulling me close. When we pulled apart, our foreheads touched as we panted in the dark. "I don't want to stop," he said. "Then don't." We kissed again, and again. More sure, more open, each touch layered with meaning. Eventually we went further. It hurt, a little, but it was beautiful because it was us, together. I ran my hand down his back, feeling his body shudder against me. He looked down, uncertain but connected. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yeah. Are you?" He nodded, then kissed me slower, deeper, not trying to figure it out, just feeling it. We stayed wrapped together. The lines between friendship and something more dissolved. It was clumsy in moments, overwhelming in others. But it was real. Later, when morning light slipped through the blinds, I lay awake beside him. Jason's arm was around me, his chest rising and falling softly. He was still asleep, but I wasn't. I couldn't stop watching him. Couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Not just the kiss. Not just the touches, but the way he held me like I was something grounding him. I still couldn't believe it. Jason, my best friend. Except, was he just that anymore? I turned to study his face. He looked peaceful, his features soft, his lips parted, murmuring something I didn't catch. I wanted to freeze this moment, but time always moves. Jason stirred. His arm tightened around me. He nuzzled closer, then slowly blinked awake. Confusion flickered in his eyes, then recognition. "Hey!" he whispered, voice thick with sleep. "Hey!" I said. A pause. The space between us held everything unsaid. "Are you okay?" I asked. He hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I think so." "You think so?" He propped himself up on one elbow. "I just don't want you to think last night was a mistake." I blinked. That wasn't what I expected. "It wasn't," I said quickly. "Jason, I meant it." "Me too," he said. "Everything I said, everything we did." I may not have the words yet, but I wasn't confused. I wanted it. The knot in my chest loosened. "I don't expect you to have it all figured out," I said. "I just needed to know it wasn't something you'd wake up and regret." "I don't," he said. "If anything, I regret not doing it sooner." I stared at him. He reached out, touching my cheek. "I've been scared for a long time," he said. "Scared this would ruin us. But last night didn't feel like ruin. It felt like relief." I placed my hand over his. "It did," I said. "It felt like breathing." We stayed like that, facing each other, hands entwined. Eventually, Jason sat up and stretched. "I should probably text Sam," he muttered. "Tell her I'm not going to see her again." My stomach tensed. Not from jealousy, just reality creeping in. "You sure?" He turned to me, certain. "Yeah, I don't want to pretend anymore." That word again. Pretend. It had followed us for so long. "You don't have to do everything at once," I said. "Let this be ours for now." Jason smiled and leaned in, kissing my forehead. "I like that." The rest of the morning passed quietly. Coffee, brushed hands, small smiles, domestic and new, but fitting. It always had. We just hadn't let ourselves see it. At the door, Jason paused. "Hey," he said. "If I freak out later, because I probably will, just remind me of this, okay? That it felt right." "I will," I said, wrapping my arms around him. He kissed me again. Soft, lingering. "See you tonight?" "Definitely." Then he was gone. I watched him from the window as he walked down the street. But this time he looked back and smiled. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. And somehow nothing did. Jason still raided my fridge, teased me about my books, sprawled across my bed uninvited. But now there was more. A brush of fingers in the kitchen, a longer glance, quiet touches. We didn't talk about labels. Not yet. It was too new, too fragile. But it was real. Like the night he curled up behind me and breathed against my neck. Or the morning he kissed my shoulder over coffee. Or the time he whispered, "I missed you." Even though he'd only been gone a few hours. Yes, we did it again. A few times. But it was never rushed. Never careless. It was exploration. Connection. There were still doubts. Still flinches when his phone lit up. But he stayed. Quietly. Steadily. Reaching for me. And every time I reached back. Because in those small, uncertain moments, we were building something real. Something worth holding on to.